That's the precious metal and battery mineral slides asset. What we're showing there are the four main components of Ardiden, which is a really strong cash position of over $7 million in the March quarter. We've got the Pickle Lake Gold Project, which is our core focus, where we're actually investing all of our time and money. And that's a massive gold project, and I'm going to focus on that on a few slides in this presentation. We also have a 20% ownership of a project in Ontario in Lithium, spodumene projects. It's a joint venture with GTM, who listed last November and doing amazingly well. And as part of that deal, we received 30 million shares in that company as well, separate to the joint venture and separate to the project 20% ownership. So that has a value of about $10 million as of this morning. So they're the four components that make up Ardiden. And what I'm going to try and get across today is a value proposition for those that, as Tim said, there's volatility in the market. Some things are overpriced and some are underpriced. And we think that Ardiden arithmetically is really underpriced. And for those that are looking to get in on something that's going to make sense for them when the market potentially re-equilibrates and gets back to some sort of normal, there's a really good situation here that I think is fairly transparent for the keen investor to look at. Next slide, please. That should be a slide of ADV's Ontario assets. Is that right, Tim? I'll take that as a yes.
Sorry, Rob, we can see those slides, so please proceed.
Yeah, sure. So that's a map on the left showing Ontario, which is in Canada, obviously, and all the dots and crosses in there are lithium and gold projects throughout. It's a real big mining exploration state, Ontario. Together with Quebec and BC, it's really the mining and exploration hard rock part of Canada. I've got the next map will show you how many Australians are actually investing in here over the last few years. It's a really good place to invest. So we have the Pickle Lake Gold Project, which you can see in the top left there. It's a really big project that's technically sort of visible from space. It's about 122 kilometres east to west. And the greenstone belts here are east-west orientated. So you can see there, Red Lake to our west. We're in the middle there. And in the top right of us, for those that have been following the fight between BHP and Twiggy for the Ring of Fire, that's just to the northwest of us as well. So some big tier one deposits in our region, both in the gold and base metal space. The three blue triangle dots there are the three joint ventured lithium projects that we have with GT1, just to put you in that perspective of where we are geographically. So Pickle Lake, we're drilling. I'm over here at the moment managing a drill program with our team, and it's a really exciting gold project that we're sitting on. We're trying to get through a 7,000 metre drill program along about a 10-kilometre stretch of what we call the Western Hub. In this area, we've recently seen some really big transactions. The Great Bear Resources Dixie project was bought by Kinross. I just mentioned the Ring of Fire transaction, and all the majors are in this area. It's a playing field for majors looking at what juniors are doing. And a lot of people have eyes on this district. They know that there's potentially big discoveries still to be made, and that's the absolute focus of our Pickle Lake gold exploration. With the lithium project, as I mentioned before, we've got a 20% free carry project interest in that and the offtake rights. That means we don't need to contribute any money until a feasibility study is completed by GT1 and a decision to mine. GT1 recently did a massive cap raising and they brought in a strategic partner. So they're really getting a lot of good investment into the EV space, specialists in their area, which allows us to really focus on the gold properties, which is our key asset. Next slide, please. This is a broader map of Canada. Just those Australian flags there are ASX listed companies which are heavily invested into Canadian projects. And you can see it stretches all the way from Newfoundland out to the east, all the way across to BC and up to Alaska, which of course is the US, but you can see the spread and the reasoning behind investment into the Canadian mineral space. Next slide. That's a quick snapshot of our corporate structure. ADV is our code. We're trading at 1.2 cents as of last night. Quite a lot of shares on issue, so it's a very liquid stock. Market cap of 32 million. And that's important when I get to a couple of slides at the back end. Strong cash position, and we've got some good institutions in as well that understand the gold space, that really want to see us deliver some value into that gold space from our lithium value that we have with both the shares and the project ownership. Next slide, please. I won't waste too much time on some of these slides. You can read them in detail, but you can see there we've got a board with a really broad and well-experienced detail in joint ventures, in gold, in lithium, the whole gambit in there. So it's quite a big board, but each person has a particular specialization. Bruce on the left there obviously was the start of Evolution. So I'm bookended on that picture by gold specialists. On the other end, Michelle Roth, who's based in New York. Well, she's a chairperson of a gold explorer in Quebec who have a joint venture with Agnico Eagle. So you can see that sort of experience and those contacts are really going to help us as we go forward. Next slide, please. That's just a quick snapshot. I'm not going to go into too much detail about lithium because Luke Cox and the GT1 team can do that separately, and I can refer you to them to get some really detail. This is more about the gold story, but geographically, you can see there are two maps. The one on the left and the one on the right are just Ardiden's versions and GT1's version of the same thing. But you can see, for example, the orange dot that you see there, which is their Root Lake lithium project, that's really close to our gold project, the Pickle Lake Gold Project. So all these things you can throw a blanket over. They're in the same area, and we had a lot of synergies with logistics, First Nation liaison, all the things that we're working on together. And it's really helping the joint venture working together. And I'm meeting the guys here in town today, going through a lot of core storage issues, talking about First Nations, seasonal challenges, and how we're going ahead. Next slide, please. So back to the gold space. I mentioned before Evolution in the area, which Bruce, our chairperson, put together 10 years ago or so. We've also got north of us, Newmont, actively mining the Musselwhite mine. That helps us. Recently, a road was washed out up here as the snow melts. All the roads here are open because of mining operations very quickly. So we have very few disruptions from those sort of events. Barrick have a gold and Patricia gold mine, which is sort of within our property. So they're aware of what we're doing here. And as I mentioned before, Great Bear Resources over near Red Lake there were also were snapped up by Kinross. So there was a bit of a bidding war probably for Great Bear, which doesn't even have a JORC resource out yet. So that was I think a $1.6 billion transaction. And Evolution has recently moved into Pickle Lake, pegging Greenfield's property. They understand that this area around here has a lot of untapped potential. There's so much greenstone here which hasn't been explored properly, and it's reasonably efficient and cheap to hold and to build compelling size gold projects and give yourself the opportunity to find those tier one discoveries. Next slide. The colours on that map are really just focused now in on the Pickle Lake area. The orange, green and blue areas are all Ardiden. And what we're trying to show there is the status of our permitting. It's really important to get First Nation relationships sorted here, to give yourself those trust values, the opportunity to drill all year round and give employment opportunities to First Nation. And based on that, the Mines Department issued 3-year exploration permits. So the green and the blue areas, we're pretty much fully permitted and we can drill at any time. So we have a choice of places to drill and we're making applications for the other area. It's really that area you can see there where the Barrick logo is around the Gold and Patricia gold mine, which is a historic underground mine, where we're concentrating our drilling at the moment. And we've obviously got joint ventures in the area with Newmont, Orteco, First Mining Gold. There's a lot of activity and a lot of eyes on the Pickle Lake region. Next slide. That's a really sort of, we've got 22 prospects and deposits identified on our land alone. And we're trying to prioritise that and work out where we're going to drill is a joy, to be honest. We've done detailed geophysics over this area, and that's the key to success here, is to understand the structure, understand the geology, and put the drill rig where you've got the best chance of making gold hits. We're currently drilling at the Esker and the Dorothy Dobie projects, which you can see along the Western Hub. And we've got a whole bunch more coming up in the pipeline. So we're going to have rigs moving around to different properties and making sure we hit the best possible targets. I'm over here to make sure we prioritise that drilling and the sampling and get some efficiency. And it's a good time of year to be here. Next slide, please. I'm going to see Tim pop up shortly. I'm watching my own time, so I'll skip through a bit of the detail on these things. I don't want to bore you with it, other than just to say both Hayden, who's on standby to potentially jump in, who spends a lot of time in country here. We've got some really exciting structures and opportunities here with some historical gold grades, which are bonanza grades in places, and some really areas which haven't been drill tested. So we understand the structure now. We've done a lot of detailed work on it, and we're getting detailed analysis from diamond core, orientated core, really smart drilling, trying to work out where the structures are. There's a lot of old hits through here which were never followed up, and we're trying to put it all together into a coherent story and work out where the best opportunity is to find those tier one deposits. So we're going to be drilling here for some time. There's a 100,000 ounce historical estimate along here at 5.8 grams. and we're going to be drilling that to validate some historical results so our QA/QC is brought up to speed. So a lot of work going on at the moment on the Western Hub at Pickle Lake. In terms of the news flow, on the next slide, please, and then we're just about done. The March quarter, there's some summary there of what we've achieved so far. It's all going to be about assay results from the drilling that we're doing. There'll be some news flow from what GT1 are doing in the lithium space that assists us. We've now got lithium and gold active at the same time. Previously, we've had either gold or lithium active at sort of opposite times, and now the whole space is really attractive. So a great opportunity to get into a company that has a foot in both camps. And so that's the story of Ardiden. What I wanted to try and show in the next two slides is an opportunity to get into the share price of 1.2 cents or whatever it may be today, which is well below what we think it should be on a see-through value. So next slide, please. I've got two slides here which are identical. The first one tries to explain the makeup of the value in terms of market cap, and the other one is the same bar charts, but it shows the share price in points of a cent to make up the share price. So the first three blue bars you can see on the left there are showing in market cap, the existing cash reserves of 7 million is 7 million, obviously. The shares that we hold in GT1 are worth 10 million as of close of business last night. And 20% of the lithium joint venture based on GT1's EV, not their market cap, but their EV, is 32. Add those three together and you get what should be a market cap of 50 million. On top of that, there's the value of the free carry. There's the value of the Pickle Lake Gold Project, which makes up a number north of that. And on the far right, we said where we're sitting at today is a market cap of 32. So there's a differential there that needs to be sorted out. And I'm trying to explain that to the astute investor to see the opportunity to really get something that's undervalued now that will reset itself at a greater value going forward if the market believes in the story and understands the area. One more slide, and then I'll hand back to Tim. This is exactly the same size of boxes, for want of a better term, but instead of showing market cap, we're showing share price. So if I jump straight to the right where you see the green box, our share price is 1.2 cents. But if you add the value of the share, the cash, the shares in GT1, the 20% lithium carry, the share price should be 1.9 cents without even considering the gold and the free carry. So we think there's a really good opportunity there for those that like this sort of investment, that understand the potential of these areas. And at the same time, we've got a really quality board and a lot of activity going on and results coming out in the near future. So a good opportunity, we think. If you want to know more, call me, call the office, call Hayden, get in touch with us, and we're really happy to explain more. This was just a quick overview. I'll jump off now, Tim, and probably hit the sack. But we're really interested to hear the next two stories anyway. It's always really good to hear your sessions and take any Q&A that's around on the Ardiden story quickly, Tim.
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes or so for some questions here. Just to confirm, it's 13 million shares you own in GT1. I think in the beginning you may have actually accidentally said 30, so I'm just confirming that. Now for shareholders, there are quite a few shares on issue. Is there any chance of consolidation?
There is. That always comes up. You consolidate shares at the right time. Some people like the liquid in there. If there's an event that happens that's coincident with the right time to do that, and our key shareholders are in agreement with that, we may well do that. But there's plenty of other companies out there with billions of shares on issue that are doing really well. So it's not our biggest focus, but we are aware of it, yes.
And is there any, can you give us any color on the numbers that in terms of, number of ounces being produced by some of these big neighbours that you have?
Well, Musselwhite to the north of us, I think is trying to get back to about 300,000 ounces per year. That's just a small mine to the north. We've got Hemlo further east, which is a multi-million ounce producer. Red Lake itself, there's 3 mines in there. I'm not sure of Evolution's latest predictions in there. I should brush those off, but I imagine it's somewhere north of 500,000 ounces. New Gold have Rainy River just to the south of us producing. There's a lot of those sort of mines that are producing sort of 300 to 500,000 ounces, and that's really the tenor that you want to go for on a project this size. They're all underground mines. There's a couple of open cut mines in sort of development stage, but most of these, I was looking at some core today alongside ours, which is from 3.5 kilometres down at Red Lake. So that's the potential of these deep systems. We're just scratching the surface. They are big systems, and I'm sure Evolution I think they've doubled the resource, and they're likely to increase the reserve, modernising and getting in there and sort of joining all those projects into others. So it's a producing area. Pickle Lake itself produced 3 million ounces during the 50s, 60s and 70s. So it has been a producing area. There's nothing producing at the moment. but I'm sure some of the explorers in the area, there is a small mine in the area. If you can put some of these sort of mid-tier deposits together, you can really get a good production profile looking ahead.
And Rob, is there any plan or opportunity to JV with some of these larger partners?
Well, it's a case of talking to everyone and making a rational decision amongst the board about what makes sense. We think that as a junior explorer, we're not under any particular stress. As you've seen, we've got a really strong cash position and the ability, in the future to monetize some of their lithium assets. So we're in control of our own destiny to a degree, but obviously we want to talk to anyone that's in the area at the right time. As I said, as we think we're undervalued, like most miners and explorers probably do, we think there's a lot there more for shareholders at the moment to get good value from that before something like that happens. There's a lot of activity and a lot of eyes in the area. We'll talk to anyone that has credence, and obviously our board are involved with other majors as well. So discussions are underway all the time, I guess, and people are trying to get into this area early. So we that's why we're drilling, not madly but furiously, trying to get the value and the results out to make sure that we get value into the stock for shareholders.
And just one last question: what sort of data points can investors and potential shareholders, new shareholders, look for over the next 6 or 12 months?
Sure. Well, I think that the big one is what results we get from this drill program. And I won't talk too much about that because it's obviously inside, but that's obviously why I'm here, to make sure we're absolutely prioritising those samples and putting the drill rig in the right spot. We've got probably about an 85% ownership of the whole ground. We've got about another $500,000 to spend on a joint venture, or not a joint venture, but an earning area, which we'll achieve easily in about 1 month of drilling on that property. And then it's absolutely 100% an Ardiden project. So that's another trigger and a nice thing to have. Those partners are excited. They're good partners to have. They're assisting us along the way and have good knowledge in the area. And then the lithium space. What happens in the lithium space? I'm not talking out of tune here, but there's a lot of lithium companies which are really expanding fastly, and owning 20% of those projects, has an open end to what that value could be at no cost to us. So I guess they're the three things to watch: drill results, what's happening in the lithium space, and 100% ownership of gold projects, of size, 1,000 square kilometres. There's no typo there. I might have said 30 million shares instead of 13, but it is 1,000 square kilometres of exploration ground that we own.
Thanks, Rob. That's probably a good way to finish it. Enjoy your time over there. I hope you don't freeze.
It's warming up. Thanks, Tim.
See you later.